Bear, what did you think about that episode with Matt Fuerbringer?
It was great seeing Matt and hearing about him coaching at the women's league, Love, and hearing some of the history and going over his accolades and everything. He's just an amazing guy with a huge resume and so down to earth. It was great catching up with him.
Yeah, good stuff, Coley.
I thought it was awesome. First and foremost, he's an amazing human being, right? So that's another thing. Like, I love Furbs. He's one of my best friends, and he's just fantastic in every which way you go. But I think it's important, like, for the volleyball community to understand who's representing volleyball. I mean, Matt Fuerbringer is the Madison LOVB head women's coach in the first inaugural season. That's great for the fans out there in Madison, Wisconsin. It's great for the league, but they should know who Matt is. Right.
Agreed.
Matt
that's why we're doing this.
In his accolades, his resume is as good as anybody's. It's spectacular. And so I thought the episode was great. Loved chatting with him. Happy that he was able to carve out some time from watching film and, getting ready for his next matches. So it's been great.
We want you guys to subscribe because that just kind of keeps us up and going and getting all these interviews up. But I was thoroughly impressed when he stepped back and talked about his mentors. And this isn't when he's in his 20s. This is when in later life, and he's still this sponge to make him a better coach, which eventually is going to make him a better dad. It's going to make him a better person, more well-rounded. He's going to be a mentor if he isn't had already. So that portion of the podcast I thought was absolutely brilliant, and I can't wait to have him back for more. So
I look forward to that too.
Good
I agree.
Stuff.
Let's do it.
Cool. Well, we are back on Set the Pipe with Matt Fuerbringer. Matt, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, gentlemen? Great to see you all.
Hi, Matt. Great to see you, bud.
Great to see you, Furbs.
Well, let's get his background in. So, Matt, I have to first and foremost say he is married to the beautiful Joy McKenzie, national champion, 49er, by the way. And Matt, that's pretty much all I have for you, buddy. Like, that's your history as far as I'm concerned, Matt.
Well, you tell people when they're young, marry up. So I married up. So
that's funny. That's probably about all Matt's ever accomplished with volleyball, right? Is just marrying Joy.
That's all I found. That's all.
I'm driving to my hoop game the other day, and I'm on I text Sully and Bear, and I start just going through some of the stuff you've done, Matt, just off the top of my head. And it's not really a lot, but it's just a small amount of accomplishments. But maybe Sully, you might want to read a few that Matt's done.
So right now he is a part of the inaugural women's professional league out there, head coach of League One Volleyball. We know you've done some head coaching in club, but this is kind of your first gig, and born in Canada. That kind of surprised me. Like I said, married to Joy McKenzie, has two kids, Mateo, who is actually an AAU Beach Player of the Year, and daughter Charlie, who is the starting setter at Wisconsin right now, had a fantastic season.
As a freshman.
As a freshman, that's right. Matt was one of the few, I think he's only the second, still should be the second, 4-time All-American at Stanford. He was the NCAA Freshman of the Year, Division I national champion, and like Bear and I, it was the first one in school's history, and he was kills leader, if not still the kills leader. Played professionally indoor for 5 years. In Europe, he was a 2-time champion there. Then he got into the AVP. He's an 8-time, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, 8-time AVP champion. He was the Rookie of the Year, who went 9 years on the FIVB World Tour with 4 silvers and 2 bronze. So
it has his name on the pier as well.
It's on the pier. Right. That's insane. To finish it off, he was USAA men's assistant coach for 2 Olympics, 2016 bronze medal, FIVB World Cup title, and World League title. Club volleyball, he's the owner and director of Mizuno Long Beach and Team Rockstar. That is Matt Fuerbringer in a nutshell. I got to meet Matt for the first time, and I don't even know if you remember, it was about 12 years ago. I brought some kids down from Boise, Idaho, that's never been to Southern California. We dropped in. You guys were gracious enough to get some pictures with some of the kids with Spara. Thought that was great. So that's how we met.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I mean, when we get older, those intros get long,
They get long for some. They get long for some, Matt.
And those
only
stick
a few.
for you, man. Those don't go away. I mean, that's there forever. You're only going to get longer, man. So, Tim, how did you meet Matt?
Yeah, Ferbs, I got a question for you real quick. Paul Mitchell question. What was your first nationals? Where was it? Was it Wisconsin?
I
Do you
can't-
remember?
No, it was Columbus. It was Ohio.
C-bus.
And then,
Yep.
yeah, the C-bus.
Okay.
And then the
Okay.
next year we were in Wisconsin. Yeah.
Okay,
Milwaukee.
because I was trying to remember where we met. Okay, and it was in Wisconsin. I didn't go to Columbus, but I think I met you in LAX. We got on the plane together and didn't really talk, just introduced each other or whatever. And we went out that night in Wisconsin with Team Paul Mitchell and a bunch of other teams to like this restaurant, club, bar place. I don't know if you remember this story, but it was packed in there. And I went to I was standing in line at the bar to get some drinks for Curtis Jackson and myself. And the line was taking way too long. And so I'd had a couple, I guess, and felt like I could go behind the bar and mix Curtis's drink for him. And by the time I put the orange juice in his screwdriver, I was being escorted out the bar. And, you know.
So weird. That's so weird of you, Bear.
Not you.
I've
Bear,
been
you?
kicked out. But anyways,
No.
I was about 100 yards outside the bar and I hear, "Hey, Bear." And I turn around and it was you, Ferbs. And you're like, "Hey, where do you want to go?" And I'm like, wow, I just thought that was really cool that, we didn't even really know each other. And you broke away from everybody and you were ready to go out and have some fun. And then, I don't know, we walked about 50 more yards and we hear, "Hey, Ferbs, hey, Bear, come back here." And it was Coley and Prescio. And they were getting us back in the bar, at least getting me back in the bar. You weren't kicked out. And we went back in and they told me I couldn't go back behind the bar. And I'm like, "Hey, guys, how did you work the magic, And Coley and Press were saying basically that if you kick those guys out or kick me out, all these people, hundreds of people are leaving the bar. So they got me back in. But I just thought it was really cool of you, showing integrity, breaking away from the crowd. And you were willing to go hang out with somebody you really didn't even know. So that meant a lot to me. What a good guy you are.
Do you remember that, Matt?
I remember that night. That was a fun night. A great night.
It was good.
Speaking along Paul Mitchell, Matt, I mean, you met your wife at one of those events playing for Paul Mitchell, which is great. And she was playing with Mooney's team. But if you can give us one or two top moments that you had playing for Paul Mitchell in the years that you did get to go, a couple wins, I mean, the hoist feast and a few other stories we have. But can you give me just one or two moments that really capture something you still remember to this day?
Oh, man. Well, the great story, I mean, one of my first times was in Columbus, and we went to the old Buca di Beppo, the old standard Italian place, and we went with Mitchell, and Julie took us out. And so the deal was, we could, the meal was paid for, and we had to get the drink tab. And so that was my first time ever with the credit card roulette.
Right.
Those of you guys that don't know, credit card roulette is, whatever the bill is, $1,000. We had a big team. Light drinkers, but big team, and that bill is pretty high. We all put our cards in, and the last card drawn, so you get a hat, and you put the credit cards in there, and you pass the hat around, and when your credit card gets taken out, you're not paying. So it's the last credit card in the hat that pays for the whole bill. So
And it should be that way.
Right.
yeah, and so you're celebrating. Well, what we end up doing is we end up getting like the cutest girl in the bar to get the hat. And then she's going around the table and picking it up. And we end up meeting this whole group. And next thing I know, we're like in front of this table of all these girls and serenading them. Somehow Coley, I think, started singing his songs.
What?
Of a Sweet
That's a
Carolina,
shock.
what you
How
came
these
up with.
Stories.
But yeah, we're singing them songs. And the next thing we know, we're back in their sorority house. And so that was kind of just just seemed like a typical Paul Mitchell night, but that was, I think, one of my first nights with the team. So pretty
Not a bad story to tell. Good times. Yeah. I think there was also about 13 of us in a small Astra van getting to the sorority house. There's probably another.
There's parts of that story we're going to leave out, but there's a lot of good things.
Absolutely, not a doubt in your mind. Well, I got a question for you here, Ferbs. It's a tough one for you. I'm putting you on the spot here, but Southern California or Northern California?
That's not a tough one for me. I mean, I grew up in Southern California and still live in Southern California. I was in Northern California for 5 years, 5 amazing years, got great peeps up there, but I'm a SoCal boy and family. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's awesome. That's great to hear.
Did you go to Estancia?
Yeah,
you did. Did you play for Pestalozzi there, or was he?
Pesto 1 year, and then Pesto got and then he took off to Newport Harbor after that. But Pesto used to come and help us in basketball too, with my basketball team, and then he coached me my sophomore year.
Who took over after Pesto at Estancia?
It was just like a carousel was next year. one year, no, actually my sophomore year, he didn't like a bunch of seniors. That's when our team was pretty good, and he didn't like the seniors, so he didn't coach the team that year. And that was God, what was his name? Dan, blonde hair, OCC. He was playing at OCC at the time. Forget his name. And then the next year, Pesto came my junior year, but I missed the whole year basically because we won state that year, so we missed a lot in hoops.
Okay.
And then I got hurt. I hurt my back playing basketball, so I missed most of that year.
Did they
Pesto,
score?
I always give Pesto the credit for he's just the one that would tell me that I could be good in volleyball, and kind of the one that was like, hey man, like I know you're great in basketball, but like if you put any time into volleyball, you could be really good at it. And, you know, and just let me know there's a pro world, there's somewhere to go there. And that was actually a big, you know, deciding factor in me choosing volleyball at Stanford, because not only was I going to get set up by going to Stanford, I thought in life, but I was also going to be able to play professionally. And I was pretty sure I wasn't playing professional hoops anywhere.
Oops. And how tall are you? Are you like 6'9"?
I'm 6'8".
6'8", yeah. Okay.
Pestalacci's one of the best.
Yeah,
Putting
he's
that
the
out
best.
there.
I agree with you.
One of the best. Period.
Yeah.
To start.
So,
We got to go after him too.
Yeah, I had Pesto, and then Dan Glenn was my club coach.
Yeah, Danny.
For Marble. And so I had surrounded by this like incredible, you know, Rocky, and surrounded by
I was gonna say Sorelli and Biggs
a
and
bunch
all
of
the
great
yeah.
guys. Yeah,
Yep.
they kind of just encouraged me, and they never pressured me. Like, I mean, I honestly probably went to like 4 club practices in my life. I mean, like 4 or 5 club practices in my life. It was just like show up at the events when I could, and they were just awesome. So,
Hey, Furbs, you know, you're head coach for League One Volleyball. It's a first women's professional volleyball league in the country. And what's it like being that head coach? You know, first year you've been assistant coach quite a bit, and now you're a head coach. What's it like?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's fun, Bear. It's really fun, and it's a great challenge because I don't know if you guys got to see the games this weekend, but we had our first games in Madison, and we had really good crowd at the field house, which is where the Badgers play, which is where my daughter goes. So I was there watching a lot of her games, and being able to go and play in front of the same crowd was awesome. And, you know, I feel a certain responsibility we're trying to build a league that hasn't been done before, and it's super exciting. And I feel a responsibility, but a good responsibility, a fun responsibility that I feel ready for. And the challenge every day is fun. I mean, I spent the day today watching film for the last few days, getting ready for Monday. And, you know, as coaches go, it's a full-time, nonstop job, but it's also just a really, really fun thing to do. Like I didn't wake up like I wanted to do that this morning, right? And you want to get better. And I have a group of women that are hungry to be the best. And I think for me, I always tell people I'm just about chasing greatness with my teams, and we're trying to be great. And along that journey, we're going to learn a lot, and we're going to, you know, have some hard losses and some disappointment. But through those times, we're going to learn, we're going to get better. And I think we'll eventually get there. So this weekend, we had one really nice game, and then one game we lost where we started off great last night, and then just kind of hit a little bit of a wall, and the other team started playing really well. And we just lost a little bit of, I would say, just a little bit of composure on the court. We started kind of chasing and trying to over adjust and doing too much. And next thing we know, our level of play started going down, and their level of play started going up. So you know, for those of you guys that haven't watched yet, the matches are really high level, and it's early. I mean, the improvement that I've seen in the matches from week 1 to now week 2, by the end of the year, it's going to be pretty crazy. And
part of that's really probably chemistry, right, Matt? That's probably chemistry. These guys come from all different universities. I know they're trying to keep them local because, I mean, you're pulling some studs from there, but you would think the chemistry, just like any professional league out there, it's going to take a little bit of time. And I did watch, and one of the things I looked for was, the crowd. I mean, the talent's there. There's no doubt. High level play for sure. But the crowd was super impressive. And then after the match, all those juniors lined up for all those autographs and pictures opportunities. Man, it's not a better time to be in volleyball right now. I'm talking junior level, college level, and now the pros. Man, you're in a really good situation. Are you seeing the same thing as I am?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that there's other leagues, like leagues wanting to start and get going. There's just so many young athletes playing volleyball, men and women. And, but, you know, especially on the women's side, the growth of the college game the last couple of years has just been incredible, right? I mean, I have like friends that joke around, like, I watched the NBA, NFL, and women's college volleyball.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're 3 sports. And they're like, I'm so excited to be able to start watching pro volleyball. And so now it's just our job to really get that attachment with our community that, obviously the fans have with the colleges. And that's a different level of commitment of like, just a different level of connection because it's, so long there. But just right away, we had some really good connection with the fans this weekend. And I think that, the young people can look up to that. And the fact that young girls today can look up and see a professional women's volleyball league is
for me, Matt, that's the reason why, Furbs, we wanted to have you on. I think the LOVB is taking off. I think it's phenomenal for women's sports and for women's volleyball. You're a head coach. You're the head coach of one of the teams in the inaugural season. I watched both matches, as you know, texting you during them. And I thought it was great. I have a question for you. Kind of, Sully mentioned it earlier, but getting to coach first and foremost in a women's league in the inaugural year has got to be amazing. But to get to do it in Madison, where your daughter was an All-American freshman, playing in the same field house while having 3 former Badgers on your team. Can you tell us about how it's like to play in the same field house that your daughter plays in, the same crowd that she's getting, and then also having 3 Badgers being there locally within this pro team? How's that feel? Is it different? Like if you were coaching somewhere else, it'd still be pretty amazing. But to have that kind of extra like connection for you personally to Madison, how's that been?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's been really special. I think we could play anywhere here, and these are our only 2 games in the field house. The other times we're going to be at the Alliance Center here in Madison, but the connection with the fans, it's just a real thing. And I think it goes back a little bit further to when Charlie was deciding what school to go to, chose Madison because of that, because of the chance to go and play in front of these amazing crowds. And I know, Cole, we talked about it when you were choosing stuff with your sons, and the difference of you go to a UCLA, which is an amazing school, an amazing thing, but that crowd involvement and that is just different, right? It's just a different feel than here in Madison where, they're lining up at 3 p.m. in the afternoon to get ready to get in that game at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And it's cold. And the crowd just going nuts and they're invested and it's special. It's really special. And it's an honor for our women. It's an honor for my daughter to get to play in front of it and for me to coach it. And it gives us extra motivation for sure every day.
Well, we talk about it, and this is, again, one of the reasons having you on here for Set the Pipe is trying to help grow the sport of volleyball, talk about volleyball, tell stories of volleyball, and seeing a women's pro league today starting to blossom is awesome for the sport. Like you had said, back in the day in the early 70s with the NBA, the ABA came out, right? They also merged and became something special. I would love to see that for women's volleyball. There was a time I think either you or Joy were at the match. You both might have been at the match during the middle of the season and you're playing at Purdue. And I think I mentioned this on my first podcast, but like, I love football. I'm watching Alabama play college football on a Saturday and I changed the channel over because the game's about to start and there's Wisconsin playing at Purdue in front of 12, 13,000 people on a Saturday. That just didn't happen when we were kids. It didn't even happen 5-6 years ago. And to see the growth, the excitement, the joy, and the support from this country putting, a women's volleyball game at the prime time on a Saturday head-to-head against Alabama football says enough to me. Like it's growing, it's taking off, and I think everyone in this country should jump aboard now because it's going to be pretty special as this continues to grow.
Yeah, what did you think about it? Did you watch the NCAA tournament at all, Furbs? I thought some of the matches were some of the best I've ever seen, and just the packed houses. They're setting pipes like crazy. They're setting Ds, they're setting Bics. It's a different game now, and it's we talked to Coley before he came on to the podcast. It's more enjoyable now. It's almost preferred to watch the women's game just because the rallies are long, and when we still love the men's game, don't get me wrong, but man, it can't be more perfect to, like I said before, of where you're at and to bring a professional team on, because that NCAA tournament is kind of like the draft, right? They're showing their stuff, and then all of a sudden you get these premier athletes and they're putting on a show, man. It's really great to see.
Yeah, it's amazing. I got to go to the Elite 8 game, Nebraska, Wisconsin, huge rival in Nebraska, sold out, front row seats, watch my daughter play, watch Nebraska, it was an amazing team this year. Yeah, the level is, to kill a ball at this level is just really hard. And then you go professional level and it's just a whole nother ball game. It's just really, really hard. We spend a lot of time in our gym right now, just all the different shots, tips, rolls, hits off the block, down. It's everything to kill a ball because these just the defense and the block is just is so good.
So another question for you to talk a little bit more about the LOVB here is, How many international players do you have
Sure.
on your team specifically?
Yeah, my team, I have one of my liberos is from China. One of my other liberos is from Serbia. I have a Serbian setter. I have a Brazilian middle blocker. I have a German outside, a Puerto Rican outside. So I have 6.
Okay, so you have 6, and is the other teams in the league similar, or they have 5, 6?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think Atlanta might have the most. I feel like Atlanta has a lot, but I think it's somewhere in there. I mean, the goal of Love is, be League One Volleyball, to be the best league and to have the highest level. So it wasn't to be like take all the college names and take them, because all those players are amazing, but they're not pros. I mean, they're young pros, right? And so they got to learn the game. And so we got top international players to come, and I think it's just only going to continue. But as well as we worked in a bunch of local players, like we have Sarah Franklin, Lauren Carlini, Temi, we have Temi on our team, and, Nebraska has Jordan Larson. So they did stuff like that, but they also mixed in a lot of foreign players to up the talent.
awesome.
Cool. So there's 3 leagues now.
Well, there's 2 leagues right now.
2, but one's coming up, right?
One, yeah, allegedly. We'll see.
So I know this is all brand new to everybody. Do you think that's going to consolidate at one time, or is it just growing pains of being a professional now finally in the United States, or just giving more opportunities, or are they saying one league's going to do it better than the other? I mean, you probably have some insight on that.
This latest league that came out, I mean, I don't even know what they're called, but I mean, their post this week I thought was absurd. To say that to doing this for women's sports when there's 2 other leagues that are working really hard to do it. And, it's like, it's okay. Hey, it just shows once again that there's a lot of people want to be involved. But I think the main thing that we need to know is that Love is just doing everything right way. We have huge investors behind us, and owners are going to be coming in. And I know we're doing the right things, and we're going to survive. Hopefully the other leagues could do it as well. But, I don't know if it's not like looking to merge or looking to do more. I think Love's feeling like they have everything the way we want it, and we're building, and we're really just focused on ourselves. The only part that's a bummer is just that it does cause some confusion, but all we can do is just work really hard to do what we're doing. And our CEO of Love, Caitlin Gowes, is just an incredible woman who's led this program for we started this like in 2018, 18 around that time. So it's been just building slowly the steps, bringing in the clubs and having everyone come up for the ground floor. It's not just taking any player, it's taking women that meet what Love wants. They're really building a brand of being, great on and off the court, and great people and ambassadors of the game. So, they're not just having anyone that wants to come put money in volleyball. They're vetting and getting to know those people, and then taking money and hoping to build together. So we're doing a lot of things. I just couldn't be more proud of being part of it. And so I'm excited to see the next few years. If we can have 3 leagues in this country, that would be absolutely
It'd be
amazing.
great for women's volleyball, right?
Yeah,
It'd be great. It'd be
You
awesome.
Whatever. But, right now we definitely have the highest players. And in the end, I think that the most elite league is going to be the one that gets the best players, and that will survive.
Okay, so hey, Fuerbs, what's your favorite band, or who are you listening to right now? What kind of music are you listening to?
Yeah, that is a heck of a question. You know who I just recently started listening to, like the last year again, a lot, was Steel Pulse. I got back into my old
So good.
They're good.
like on Spotify, I'll go through and find like an old band. Like I did Rolling Stones like a little bit ago, and then I did Steel Pulse. I had a Kendrick Lamar phase. I enjoy his music a lot, and so I just been kind of all over the map. I have like my Eddie Rap Clash mix that I throw on there.
Another Paul Jim, by the way, from the beginning.
So do you have a favorite genre of music, or are you just all over the place?
I'm pretty all over, I mean, I feel like I mix a lot. Like when I was in high school, my friends and I were big classic rock. That was a big thing for us. And, but I'll go from hip hop to classic rock to, I've even done a little bit of country. I don't really
kid. Welcome.
I'm actually starting to get into country a little bit.
Yeah.
It's best music out there.
Stop.
I feel like reggae is the one that I'll always kind of go back to a fair amount, but and then I got all like, I don't even know the names of the songs that my daughter has on her Spotify account, but I listen to some of like, their music. And just
you have to. You're surrounded by females around that age, right? All the time.
Yeah.
So
I know.
Thing I want to go back to real quick is, you said you're real proud to be in that league. And I think you know this, but another reason why we wanted to have on, all of us who've known you forever are proud of you too. Proud that you're doing this for women's volleyball, proud that you're doing it for the sport. proud for you. You know, you've been an assistant coach, you've had opportunities many a times to coach, and this is such a great opportunity for you. And I'm excited to see what you do, what the team does, what the league does in the coming years. I think it's going to blow up, and I'm just, proud that you're at the ground level and that they're doing it the right way for the sport of volleyball.
I mean, obviously you have the accolades to be that coach, but how did that process come about? Did you pursue it? Did they pursue you?
Yeah, I mean, I was just, I was in the middle of the Olympic run with Coach Spraw, and the unique thing with my job the last, I had like 2 4-year stints with the national team, was that I really had a lot of ability to learn a lot about what being a head coach is, because John was gone a lot with UCLA. And so I got to run a lot of the program and do a lot of stuff. And I mean, I really always give John a lot of credit, because he put trust in me to do things and he allowed me to do it. He didn't micromanage me or to do these things. So I was able to do a lot, and then able to learn from so many amazing coaches, whether it was Javier Weber, who just became a great friend of mine from Argentina, who I just learned a ton from, Mike Wall, who worked with us, Nate Go, who was our statistician, who was always teaching us stuff, that had Karch Karai down the hallway.
Yeah. Not bad.
Yeah, we just had like Eric Sullivan would come on trips with us, and so got to learn a lot from a lot of people, and then but as a father, and we have a club, and Joy has a club, and taking a head coaching job wasn't as easy as just going somewhere and doing it. I put my family first for all that stuff, and I liked my job, but coming to the end of this quad, I just for me, I just wanted a new challenge. Even though I love my job, I love working. The national team guys are honestly really close friends of mine now, and people that I respect, and I love them. And so it's never easy to leave something like that. But for me and my own personal growth, I just was ready to go and do this. And I've run my club for 15 years now, and running a club is recruiting. It's dealing with a lot of stuff. I mean,
Business
there, so it's a lot. And so I felt like, hey man, like I want to go and I want to do this. And then when Love came up and they were searching, and I called, and they were like, well, we have 2 spots open. One of them's Madison. Would that interest you? And I said, well, if I was going to do it, that's the only place I would.
Yeah.
When Charlie had gone. And it was it was a little bit lucky too, because I mean, getting jobs is hard, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
It's just, you think you have it. You think I got this spot. Like, everyone's telling you, then, it's just hard to get a job. And so now I had really good connections with all the people from Love, because we've been working with them, and super thankful that they gave me this opportunity. And yeah, there we are.
I thought it was crazy, Matt, that you said, and I think Barry, you'll say the same thing. Al Knipe will say the same. Coley too. Is your resume is long and it's impressive, and you said that I get to work with this coach and I learned so much. You're a 4-time All-American. You're club coach forever, right? And and Eric Sullivan came in, and I learned a ton from him. I got to tell you, to hear that, I always hear that, and that's always how I've been. I think the best coaches are so humble and are willing to share, where there's a lot of coaches that aren't there. They think they know the whole game, and to see your resume and to hear you say that you're this sponge out there, to hear something different and to bring it into your craft of coaching, man, that absolutely speaks volumes to me, and it should throughout our whole community. So kudos to you to be able to sit back and go, gosh, these guys know their stuff, and I know my stuff, but man, to hear something else, a different perspective, man, that's kudos to you.
Well, and I've known Furbs forever, like all of us have, but one of the most important things, that he's always had as an athlete or a coach is you want to win, right? We want to win. He wants to win a championship. He wanted to win a national championship in college. He wanted to win beach tournaments. He wants to win everything he can, wanted to win a gold medal in the Olympics. So again, kudos to you, Matt, for always trying to get better and learn. Yep. And, we've talked about that as parents, always trying to get better and learn to do that. But, on the coaching staff and the coaching style within every sport, but within volleyball, to see you do that, to want to get better and learn, to be able to teach and create a culture of winning and winning. So it's just great to see that and hear that about it.
Yeah, I think it's just super important. I mean, for anyone listening, I think that when you're learning, you're growing, but when you're learning, you're invested and you're into it, and it's fun. When you're getting there and you're constantly, we've all been there, when you're constantly giving advice, like as a parent, at some point it's like, damn, dude, like I want someone to give me something, right? And so it's a gift. It's a gift that people that they give, and then you get to share that gift. And the more the more you're prepared, you get in situations, and you're just better in those situations because you've been there, and your ship's that much tighter, right? Like you're a step ahead because, okay, like this might have riled me before, or this might have surprised me before, But now it's like I can be a step ahead of this, and it can still happen in a match, right? Like,
Of course.
it can still happen. You still lose. You know, it doesn't guarantee anything, but I think it makes, you know, the situation harder and harder to get you in those spots. And so I'm looking forward to that kind of just that growth too, just as a head coach.
Okay, Matt, last questions for you, buddy. What's your favorite topping on a pizza?
Pepperoni.
What's your least favorite topping on a pizza?
I like pretty much everything on a pizza. I would say, well, I like everything on a pizza. I like everything. I'm an everything guy on a pizza. I
He's
even
a
like
supreme guy.
sardines. So
Oh,
yeah,
do you? I was just gonna say
yeah.
sardines too.
Yeah, I'll say chicken. I don't want
Oh.
chicken on my pizza. Get it off my pizza.
So
I'm with you
there's
on that, Matt.
something-
I mean, I'll eat it if it's there, but I'm with you. I'm not ordering chicken. That's the last
Yeah.
thing
Yeah,
I'm probably ordering
sausage,
on a pizza.
pepperoni. You know, give me all the good stuff.
The
Little
supreme
Canadian
baby.
bacon and pineapple's never bad, but yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so we're going to segue into something that really Coley and Bear is going to talk to more about, even though we all have history. We're part of the A6 Paul Mitchell family, right? So you were after my time. I was, I don't know if I was smart enough, but man, hearing all these stories, I'm like, damn, maybe I should have stuck around a little bit longer. But it's a large family, and I'm actually meeting people up in Chicago that was on A6 Paul Mitchell. It just I mean, anywhere I travel, it's like, what, you played? Oh yeah, I was back in the day, you know. So there's a lot of stories there, and Coley, you probably should take this over in terms of, you know, you brought up meeting Joy, and you guys played together. So A6 Paul Mitchell, these first podcasts have been kind of a mainstay of what we do, and the more I'm finding out, the more we're probably going to keep on bringing up A6 Paul Mitchell. But it was a big deal in my life. And let's just kind of segue to that, Coley.
Yeah. So Matt, I've asked you to tell you a couple stories about Paul Mitchell. Do you know how many years you actually played with us?
I don't think I played 2.
It was a 2. I was thinking it was maybe 3, but it was just those 2 back-to-back, Columbus and Wisconsin.
You guys
Yeah,
win
I
it?
played 3, but I might be wrong. I thought
We won in Columbus and lost in the finals in Wisconsin. So we played back-to-back championship games. One in Columbus against a really good team, beat Canyon and that Billy Ferguson team, I believe.
Yeah.
And then lost in the finals in Wisconsin to a couple national team guys. Some things that happened with our setter. Barnett had to drive back to Chicago to come back to the game, and it was just a rough match. We ended up losing in 3 or 4 or whatever it was, but back-to-back finals. Tell me about it, Matt. We already talked about it. You said you met your wife. Can you think of any stories that we could actually tell?
I mean, that's the hard part, right? The ones we can tell. But I mean, look, I have so many amazing stories from volleyball, like that, you know, go on accolades, and you know, Paul Mitchell's not one of those. You know, that goes on what goes on your resume. But it's the stories, but it is like the stories you tell the most, right? I mean, our time, not just with Paul Mitchell, but the 6-man CK we've had with Team Fletch, and just those times we have together. I mean, I think that's what makes the sport of volleyball what it is, and so much fun, is just that the camaraderie that we have on and off the court. And, you know, that's what I fell in love with. I mean, you know, as you know, I grew up a basketball player and pretty focused on that. And then just when I went up on my recruiting trip to Stanford, just kind of fell in love with that team. And we had such camaraderie on that team. And ever since then, you know, joining Paul Mitchell and joining Fletch were just 2 of the great things, because, you know, for a lot of the guys, they were amazing volleyball players who had kind of started getting jobs and moving on. So that was their time to come in and just compete. And for me, I was competing full time. And so, like, almost tired of competing sometimes going in those, but then you get in that environment and you have people that you just love and it's fun. And it kind of would always bring back just the joy of, you know, playing volleyball and competing for your friends. And there's just nothing better than winning a point with your friend next to you, and like winning a championship with your friend. Like, I'll never forget those. Like, those are the most memorable things, just because of that, because those are people you remember, and those are memories you have forever.
And one of the terms would always say with Paul Mitchell, and it's still one of the taglines, is it's all about the story, right? You're losing 13-12 in the 4th game. You're trying to push it to 5, and everyone's, you know, in the huddle. In a normal volleyball match, you're talking about who's at the pin and what do we need to do, but not with Paul Mitchell. Everyone looks at each other and is like, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Guys, it's all about the story. We're down 13-8 in the 4th. We're winning this. We are winning this because it's all about the story. And sure enough, we come back and win, right? And it truly is about the story and telling those stories years later. And it's great to hear. And one story that you and I can share, and these guys aren't, is we're both in the Hall of Fame. Tell us a little bit about that real quick. You just were inducted into Stanford's Hall of Fame. How was that being just a part of such an elite group at that school, and to be recognized to, what you have done for the university?
Yeah, that was really special, for two reasons. One is that I got my parents to come up there, and, parents are getting older. So to get to celebrate that with them was really, really special. And then just to celebrate our program, I'm the first one in since, they had chopped our program, and then we brought it back. And to get to mention that, and, there's a lot of people there that didn't even know the story, like, of it coming back, but really just to honor the guys from our program that fought so hard to bring it back, and was really special for me. And then, anytime you get a chance to kind of reflect, it's nice to look back and tell stories about winning the national championship and what that meant for my career and what that meant to me, was just a great event. But really, really, really honored to be a part of that. Because like you said, it's just like when you look at those Stanford Hall of Fame names, it's kind of like, crazy to have my name.
Yeah, pretty special. And of course, every time, no matter what happens, when I bring someone like Fuerbs on, you guys always have to talk about a national championship. All three of you have one and I don't. And I'm sick of it. I mean, I have one with Paul Mitchell, more than a couple, but of course, Matt has to bring that up. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for always bringing it, just stinging it right in my heart a little bit.
I wore mine last night, but it's okay. We do have Matt's Hall of Fame speech, and I'll actually put that within this podcast so everybody can hear it and see it.
Yes, this is amazing. Yeah, seeing everyone here. I just want to say that when I played, there were color photos. Okay. Bernard, I know you guys lost my phone number for a few years. Maybe that's why I'm not here sooner. But yeah, it is an absolute honor to stand up here and represent the men's volleyball team. And so I want to start off with a story. It was 1997. We had just won a national championship, and we were all in the court celebrating. It was the first one in school history. And my dad back then was always taking photos and had his camera out. And a security guard comes up to my dad and says, Sir, you're going to have to clear the court. And my dad, being the gentleman that he is, turns to the security guard and says, go climb a tree. I don't know if you remember that, Dad, but really funny and really fitting that that is what keeps me in sports all this time, is the fact that we get to share these experiences with our family. Thank you to Stanford for bringing my family back together one more time. I got teammates here that I haven't seen in a long time, and it's super special. The other part of sport that's always driven me is being on a team and chasing something great. And at Stanford, that was something we were allowed to do and encouraged to do, and we did. And so I want to go back to that 1997 final. We were the #1 team in the world, at least the USA, and we were playing UCLA. And UCLA was not #1 that year, but they'd won 19 national championships, and we'd won 0. And everyone was telling us that we weren't going to win. UCLA was going to win when it mattered. So we go out there, we play them, we win the first set pretty easy. Second set's a little closer. Third set, I'm going to give John a heart attack, my coach up here. Second set, I got a little bit closer, and in the third set, they won. The fourth set, they blew us out. So in volleyball, we play 3 out of 5 sets. They beat us 15-4. We're coming back to the bench, and everyone's dejected. Okay, everyone's down. And we had a bunch of leaders on our team, but one of the quiet leaders on our team, Keenan Whitehurst, came up to me and said, Matt, we need to go back to the locker room. We got to go back. And I looked at him and I said, you're right. So we grab the team, we go back to the locker room, we huddle up, and I kind of look at everyone and I say, guys, if you had told us at the beginning of this year that we were going to play a 5th set against UCLA to win a national championship, every last one of us would be going crazy. And right now we're in here dejected, worrying about what we did, how we're up 2-0 and losing. And immediately our team captain, Mike Lambert, starts going crazy. And the next thing you know, we go out, we win the national championship 3-2, beat UCLA for the first time, and knock them out and win that national championship. So, special moment. Really special to see how Keenan stepped up to be a leader in that moment, and how just that little switch, how we viewed that moment, turned from like what we were losing into what we could win. And it's something that I've taken into my coaching career, something I love to share with my athletes.
There's one more moment I want to talk to you that's just really amazing to me, and it was July 8, 2020, and it was a day, a very difficult day for us in the men's volleyball world. I know a difficult day for Bernard and for many of us here that our program was taken away. And just to tell you a little bit, that's why I'm so proud to be representing our program, to tell you a little bit about what happened. Within 8 hours, we were on a Zoom, and we had 85% of all of our alumni ever from Stanford on that Zoom. Within 1 week, we had pods for, fundraising, and within 6 months, we'd raised $8 million. Okay, it was just an incredible feat. I want to give a little credit to David Saeta, Wendell Burkhofer, Jeremy Jacobs, Parker Blackman, Coach John Costi for their leadership in this. But I'm telling this story because it wasn't enough to get it back. It took the whole school. It took Stanford. It took Adam Keefe from basketball, Jennifer Azey from basketball, stepping up with 36 strong. And it wasn't until that moment where we relayed why? Because we wanted the next generation to have the same experiences we had. The best years of my life were here on the farm. My friends are so important. It shaped me. It gave me so much. And I couldn't think of the younger generation not having that. And it was such an honor to have people from other sports signing that. There was 1,000 people signing those petitions a week. So just an amazing moment. I'm so grateful for all the, for my Stanford experience here. And I just want to say a few more thank yous here. I want to thank my coach, John Costi, Ruben Nieves, Al Rodriguez, for watching a tall, skinny basketball player win a state title up and down the street in the Oakland Forum and be convinced that he could be a good volleyball player. I want to thank Stanford Admissions for letting me in. That was a good... It was close. It was close. I want to thank my setter, Stu Chong, up there for setting me into the Hall of Fame. I want to thank my longtime beach partner up there, Casey Jennings, for teaching me what grit is. I want to thank my sister, Samantha, my brother-in-law, John, my uncle, Neil, my aunt, Julie, for teaching me about unconditional love. I want to thank my wife, Joy. My daughter is playing live on TV right now. My wife's watching the whole time. They're playing Oregon. She plays volleyball at Wisconsin. So they're doing that. I want to thank you guys are my rock. You guys inspire me every day and make me a better person. Lastly, I want to thank my parents. My parents never talked to a teacher, never talked to a coach, never got in the way of what I wanted to do. They just said, be a good person, put school first, and work hard. So I love them for that. And lastly, I know I've gone a little long here, but if anyone would have come up and tried to get me off the stage, I would have told them, go climb a tree. Thank you.
Who was your coach, Matt, in Stanford?
Ruben Nieves was my head coach. John Costi was my assistant coach. He's still there as the head coach, so John's been there forever. And Al Rodriguez was our volunteer assistant, which is really back then. That was a third assistant coach. Al passed away a few years ago. And but yeah, we had a great staff, an amazing team. I mean, the year I came in, my freshman year, there was all these fifth-year seniors who we had. And then Duncan Blackman was still around getting his finishing up school. And we had Dave Goss and Bob Hillman and just a bunch of characters, man. Really, really fun group of guys that really taught me the sport. I didn't really know how to play volleyball that well. And just watching them, that's who I learned from. And, learned every day from Mike Lambert as well. He was, my same year, but he was just a much better volleyball player at that point than I was.
So trivia real quick. So Costi and I played together for our first club. I was on a special team with him before I was on A6 Paul Mitchell. Barry can't say anything. Do you know what the team was called? Anybody?
The Wisconsin. Nope.
The Orville Red and Blockers, baby.
That's right. Orville Red and Blockers.
Right.
In Reno. You were in Reno,
right.
weren't you?
Yep. In Reno, Gary Fish was the Orville's grandson, and he did the commercials with them, and he was on our team, and that's how I met Costi. And yeah, you talk about, my kids are like, man, your world is so small in volleyball. It's all kind of intertwined and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought I'd put that out there. I thought that was...
I know we're probably running short on time, but I've just something I want to bring back up, Matt, and it's something I talked about on my first podcast, and I don't know if I'm carrying the flag for everyone, but you played multiple sports in high school, and you mentioned you were a basketball player.
Oops.
And became a volleyball player. You're a parent of two elite kids. You're a coach in a women's professional league. What would your take be to the youth in general playing multiple sports And how was the transition from being a basketball player, I wanted to play basketball, to going to play volleyball in college? I know it's a couple questions, but just in general about playing multiple sports in youth sports. And then how was it for you to transition from basketball to volleyball at that level?
Yeah, I just think it's really important that kids, first of all, like, you never know what sport your kid's going to grab onto, right? And so you throw them in as many as you can. They don't need to be amazing at first at a sport either to keep them in it. Like, I think you can keep them playing a sport, but I do think it's important to get them going a lot. You know, I had some friends whose kids, I don't want my kid playing volleyball until he was like 14. I'm like, well, that's dumb. Like, why? No, like, have them play. You just don't have to have them play only volleyball, but teach them different sports. And I really think for me, what helped me in volleyball was that I played tennis, I played baseball. So that was two, like, you know, the serve and a throwing motion. And I think tracking a baseball and then like passing a volleyball, like, I don't know, there's just something I think about that. And then basketball, obviously, for the jumping and the movement. So I think those three things. But if you only play basketball, I don't know how good of a transition it is to volleyball. You know, you don't get that arm swing. You don't have some of those like tracking stuff that you have. But I think the combination of all those sports really helped out. But I just think the most important part is that you let your kid get out there, try a bunch of sports and really like it. And then, you know, when they want to specialize and go to one, I don't think it's that big of a deal either. I don't want my kid to play multiple sports as long as possible. I'm like, I get it, but it's up to them. At that point, if they want to do it. And I guess my advice too, because now that my kids have gone through it, and is, you know, when they're young, they don't burn out when they're young. You know, I want my kid to get, but I don't want them to burn out. It's like, if they want to go get extra work, let them go get extra work, put it in. It gets hard in high school, you know, but burnouts happened when we were in high school, right? They were called burnout because they were burning instead of going to school, right? They were burned out. And I think that's still happening now. And a lot of times it's not necessarily because like they're burnt out. It's because they're not good. They used to be really good and people caught them and now they're not as good as like they once were. Right. And so I think that happens. I think sometimes pressure from parents happens, but yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of the kids learning as many sports as possible because there's one thing you learn in every sport is how to compete.
And then your transition from basketball to volleyball at that level, how was it? I mean, we talked before, you could have played college basketball. And at one point, that's what you wanted to do. Yeah. You go to the Stanford trip, you fall in love with volleyball, and you become an elite volleyball player coach. We can go on, as we mentioned, with your accolades. How was that transition for you?
It was a little long, honestly. Like, it was just couldn't keep up with the speed of the game at all. They had me come in as a middle and I just like trying to reblock and do all stuff at that level was really hard. So I ended up redshirting my freshman year, but like about, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks in to like the fall, or maybe like 3 weeks in a fall season, I asked Ruben, the coach, if I could move to opposite because I don't know. I was used to being more involved. And when you're a basketball player, you're touching the ball all the time. As a middle, sometimes I just wasn't touching the ball and I wasn't reblocking that well. So I wasn't stuffing balls. And I was like, let me go. And so I transitioned that year to opposite. And that was the best thing. And then once I moved to opposite and then eventually I moved to outside hitter, but that's kind of when it started taking off. And by the end of my freshman year, I was playing really well. But I'd redshirted. We had Dave Goss, an All-American ahead of me. And then came in the next year and, you know, got freshman of the year and was able to get after it. But, you know, I still learned so much that year from watching guys like Bob Hillman and Dave Goss, who are elite attackers, right? How to hit high hands, how to, you know, sell shots and do stuff. So, but yeah, it was really fun. And honestly, Coley, in my career, I went from basketball to indoor volleyball to beach volleyball. Yeah. Then I went back to learn how to coach indoor. Right. And then I went to college women. Then I went back to the national team men. And then I'm coaching the young guys. And now I'm coaching pro women and all through it. And every time I love the challenge of kind of taking on something new and not just sticking with, you know, something when it's easy, but, you know, trying something new. And so that's been really fun.
Yeah, that's getting better. One thing I'll say for the listeners here, besides hit subscribe, make sure you hit subscribe, is something that you just said that I think is important. And, you know, you and I personally have talked about this. Matt just said, Barrett and Sully, he just said, he went and talked to the coach. His parents didn't talk to the coach. His parents didn't email the coach. He wasn't scared to not go talk to the coach. He's a college freshman trying to talk about his future, and he went and had a conversation with the coach about what they thought.
He didn't text the coach?
Didn't text the coach. Parents didn't text the coach. So that's a lesson. I think I appreciate you bringing up that story because I think that's a lesson for the young kids and parents. If your kid's in middle school, they're playing high school, have the kid go talk to the coach. You don't need to do that. They're the coach, the player's the player, you're the parent. That's one thing I can say that I've never done in all my years of my kids playing is ever talk to the coach, unless I was the coach, and I hope someone would show up for the meeting, and they never did. But appreciate you saying that, Matt.
Well, I got to tell you, so we might want to wind this down, but Matt, your resume, we haven't even touched half of your resume. I mean, that's your accolades are just outstanding. We'd love to have you back if at all possible. Kind of what we do with Coley too. We'd love to have the clan on this thing. All 4 of you guys get on this thing. We can hold 8. So I think that'd be really special. I do think we should have Joy just by herself, by the way, because she does have a significant resume. But nonetheless, I would love you to come back. We'd love to talk to you about your indoor experience in Europe, and then all the AVP and how that felt to get your name on the pier, and how that all came about.
And Olympiad, being at 2 Olympics as well.
Yeah, exactly. The Olympic experience for sure. We haven't experienced that. 3. Sorry. See, that's why you're on here. 3 Olympic experiences. Yeah, we appreciate you coming on, buddy. And like I said, we know you're super busy, so we appreciate the time, and hopefully you can come in. And if anything, we may ping you for a little 10-minute, 15-minute special guest that just comes on in the middle of an interview with somebody, and just to say hello and ask a couple of questions. You may or may not know that person, so hopefully you're game. But yeah, we appreciate you, buddy.
Good luck. Good luck the rest of the season, man.
Thanks, Bear. Man, really good to see you guys, and I think I'll have to come in and give you guys some love updates for sure. Let you guys know how the season's going, and keep you guys informed, because it's gonna get exciting. So
I'm fired up for it. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think the volleyball community around this country and this world needs to keep hearing about the LOVB. I think it's a fantastic league. I think you guys have done such a great job. ESPN Plus, ESPNU. I mean, it's great to be able to watch games wherever you are, whenever you want, right? And that's been cool. And I think it's great. So I can't wait to hear more from you, especially on that league. So we really appreciate you coming in, Furbs.
Thanks for taking your time with us.
All right, guys.
Bear, what did you think about that episode with Matt Fuerbringer?
It was great seeing Matt and hearing about him coaching at the Women's League Love, and hearing some of the history and going over his accolades and everything. He's just an amazing guy with a huge resume and so down to earth. It was great catching up with him.
Yeah, good stuff, Coley.
I thought it was awesome. First and foremost, he's an amazing human being, right? So that's another thing. Like, I love Furbs. He's one of my best friends, and he's just fantastic in every which way you go. But I think it's important, like, for the volleyball community to understand who's representing volleyball. I mean, Matt Fuerbringer is the Madison LOVB head women's coach in the first inaugural season. That's great for the fans out there in Madison, Wisconsin. It's great for the league, but they should know who Matt is, right?
Agreed.
Matt
that's why we're doing this.
In his accolades, his resume is as good as anybody's. It's spectacular. And so I thought the episode was great. Love chatting with him. Happy that he was able to carve out some time from watching film and, getting ready for his next matches. So it's been great.
We want you guys to subscribe, because that just kind of keeps us up and going and getting all these interviews up. But I was thoroughly impressed when he stepped back and talked about his mentors. And this isn't when he's in his 20s. This is when in later life, and he's still this sponge to make him a better coach, which is going to make him a better dad. It's going to make him a better person, more well-rounded. He's going to be a mentor if he isn't had already. So that portion of the podcast I thought was absolutely brilliant. And I can't wait to have him back for more. So
I look forward to that too.
Good
I agree.
stuff.